out of Pass the Pen is having that actually shipped product. That's big move. So again, congrats to everybody, team, community, writers, illustrators. It's just phenomenal. And a little bit of news that we did want to bring up here is that, we've been doing Wednesday 10:30, kind of the Whip Publishing show, although in the last few weeks we had kind of merged a little Pass the Penny in there. And then we have Friday Pass the Pen, same time, same place, basically different day. But it doesn't make the most sense to have these two shows throughout the week when we're really one community, kind of with two aspects to the Whip Publishing, covering a little more broad spectrum of what's coming in to the NFT book world and stuff, and of course the storefront, the NFT book bazaar and things like that. And then Pass the Pen is really where we just get super creative and have our fun. I am thinking, and with some talk of the team, we're all thinking it would probably just be better to have one show. So I'm not sure yet if that is going to be Wednesday or Friday. I'm hoping that the time would be either the same or very similar within like a half hour of this start time. So it might be something like, it might change from 10 to noon, or it'll 10:30 will be the start time, and we go for an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours, something like that. So we can do a little catch up. Maybe it's 30 minutes of kind of going over what's happening with Whip Publishing as a whole, and then we just boom dive into Pass the Pen and get our creative juices flowing. So that is probably on the horizon, possibly for next week. So you're going to want to, keep your ears and eyes peeled to see where the change happens then. But we will still have basically the same amount of time together. It'll just be a little more convenient in one chunk.
Amazing. It's going to be weird having not, it's Wednesdays and Fridays at 6:30 for me. It's like nothing else exists. I'm going to be walking around on Fridays at 6:30. I'm be walking around like streets, just like
Man, I feel
like
ya.
tumbleweed, no purpose.
It's like when we have, every once in a while, we don't do the Whip on Thursday, the work in progress meetup. And so those days are always just a little odd for me because it's so ingrained in my schedule. I mean, it's been years of, every Thursday we do the Whip. And so every once in a while, either, we might take 1 week off between seasons, which we don't even know as a crew, like what seasons are for the Whip. We don't really name them or anything. And then, also sometimes for like a holiday. So actually this coming up week we'll have it. And then the next week, I think it falls on Thanksgiving. So it's like, okay, obviously we're not doing that one, but it's like when you're used to that, and it doesn't matter if it's just in the metaverse or it's a regular thing, IRL, like you do something and you have this kind of tradition, and then you change it up, and it takes a little while to get used to it. It's just, you're like, yeah, am I supposed to be doing something right now?
Speaking of the metaverse, I mean, a lot of changes have happened in the world at the moment, and I've noticed a lot of things aren't working. Gemini is down, Coinbase is down, and I also know that I'm now getting people come to me saying, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I kind of work in the metaverse." Like, "Oh, the Mark Zuckerberg's thing," and
That is funny as fuck.
I don't know what to say to them. I'm just like,
What you should say is you should say, no, that's the fake metaverse. I
"Yes."
work in the real metaverse where it's decentralized, and Facebook is basically our enemy.
It's a strange thing. Well, actually, this obviously we're going to have some talks about like what we want to write for this show, and I decided to just give this document with no text on it at the moment at all, the title "The Meta War," just because it was fresh in our mind, and I think you were quite happy. You quite liked that
Yes.
as an
We
expression.
were right before the show, we get on a little call to touch base before. And we were talking about a few different things, and the Facebook thing came up, and it just sparked this thing in my head, and I was like, everybody here has probably heard of the war in heaven. It's like the spiritual war that, has been raging for eons, the forces of good and evil. And it just feels like that has sort of come down to earth, but in this very ethereal way where it's kind of entered the metaverse. And so I think something like the meta war could be a really, really interesting story. So that's something that we're going to have to percolate on a little, because today I think we're going to do a reading of Zombieverse.
My gosh.
And also, before we jump into that, because I really want everybody to have a chance to hear the finished product. And of course, if you got $5 over on Matic, I would be picking one up. Of course, we
Next,
always have to say not financial advice, but I have a couple.
it's just. I mean, like it's like £2.50.
Right,
Like,
for a
how could you not?
historic NFT. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but but obviously, with a price that good and the fact there are only 100 in total, I would run. I would run and
Yes.
get your copy as soon as possible, especially as this is the first book of its kind. It
Mhm.
may it's going to be one of those sort of memorabilia pieces, I'm sure.
Yes,
So
and I would be surprised if it doesn't sell out. I think, maybe in the next week or two, there probably will only be secondary market ones available. And I think people will bump that price from five. Maybe you could find one for 25 or something. That would be like a 5x for some, or like what, a 500x for somebody.
or
Um,
yeah, I mean, I could just buy
but
them
yeah,
ready,
it's right. Oh, wow. There you go. That's
yeah,
that's what we
sell
call
them
corner
back
in
at
the
the
market.
price. Yeah.
But yeah, it's so what we also have been working on, and some of the team members have been reaching out to some other communities. I know we've mentioned this before, but if you have a PFP project, or any community, it could be a DAO, it could be any creative group of people that want to create an NFT book with some either fictional background, or maybe it's like semi-historic, the story of their DAO, and then it could get like some really cool characters kind of pumped in, or like juice up some of the members, give them some superpower. Like, who knows? Like, anything is possible here, because all we're dealing with is our creativity and our imaginations. But if you are in a group or a project and you think that there's creatives there that would be interested in doing something like Pass the Pen, hit us up, invite them over, and we are looking for a partner project. We really, besides Pass the Pen, through with publishing and Page DAO, there's been some really exciting stuff. If you didn't happen to get to the Twitter Spaces, geez, was it yesterday? I think it was just yesterday. Of the Mask of Ganymede reading, which is the Hash Mask DAO and Page DAO working together on this amazing book of basically taken from a Greek mythology, and revamped in a very modern outlook. So that is something that's coming out very soon. It's very exciting, really cool working with these other projects. So that really give me some fuel to want to bring in some more partner projects, and just spread the word, spread the love, get more people creating these NFT books.
I mean, it's going to be. People are only just talking about NFT music as
Right.
being on the frontier, and no one's. I'm so surprised that books are still unspoken of. I'm like, well, you know, I'm so surprised. But like,
It's
I
starting.
it's starting, and I think it's wonderful to sort of know and recognize when things are going to be like, like when going to be valuable, and there's a lot of noise out there, and yeah, I love that I've developed the strength to just ignore all of that and just focus on what's
Yes.
valuable.
Yes, and it like I talked to quite a few people in NFT NYC that were very interesting, or very interested in what we're doing in publishing. And so I do think that there is going to be a lot more people coming in, and of course, we saw a big influx of general users across NFTs and Web3 over the last year. And I think that this coming year is just going to be like way bigger than that. So we're going to have a big influx, and I think we'll see not only larger companies and corporations, and including publishers and stuff, trying to get in on the train. So that's why it's even more important for us to be spreading the word, where people can come and actually see the benefits, have the creative freedom from their work, versus when Amazon starts saying, hey, we'll make your ebook into an NFT. Well, they're not going to add really more utility or value or all this collaborative stuff. They're just going to basically say, you can take your self-published ebook and it'll be the same thing as an NFT, and they'll still have the control, and take all your money. So we
I'm sure.
definitely
I'm
want
sure.
to spread the
Yeah.
word.
I think I imagine what Amazon would do is then show them they have their own blockchain technology, quote
Right.
unquote, and then all they do is they just ramp up the price to what NFT books normally are, and then take a lot of the network fee. I'm not really
Yes.
sure that would be
They've
they
been
would do anything else except that.
No, no, I'm sure, and they've been using blockchain technology for quite a long time in their, warehouse
DRM,
tracking and all that. So it's
but
not
it's
like
all
it's something
private.
new to them. Right. It's blockchain, but it's totally centralized. It's the antithesis of what we work with, what we call blockchain. Um, but yeah, so interesting times are coming, that's for sure.
Well,
All right.
without further ado, there's this Zombieverse book. I mean, I want to read the whole thing like, ASAP. I'm wondering who we
Let's
would
jump in.
decide to read it out. It's
Well,
24 pages.
how about you start?
All right.
And at any point you can just bump it to me. I see we got Dylan in the chat. I know he's a nice reader. If Phil might want to jump in, I mean that's still kind of team crew. But if anybody in the audience wants to give some of the reading, just tag me, and we'll try and get a voice permission so you can also join the reading.
Yeah, sorry, homie.
Phil's live streaming.
I'm pushing some changes to the doc for the book that I'm working on. So
All
I'm
good.
not gonna be able to follow long enough to be bumped in and be reading today. But I'm sure you guys got it,
Yeah,
and I'll be
yeah.
listening in.
We absolutely do.
Yeah, we
I
got
wanted
it.
to look up audience in French because I was going to say, spécialement the audience de la française personne, but audience is just public, and I'm
Oh,
learning a bit. It's
Publico or
fascinating
something.
stuff.
You
Fascinating. So
fancy French speaker.
it comes
I
from
think the
I like.
weirdest thing about the French language is that personne means nobody.
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
That's crazy.
personne means nobody.
Person? Very confusing if you ask me, coming from knowing only a couple languages, but having a Latin root, you would think something like persona in Spanish, or person in English, and person in French, you would think would have a similar meaning.
yeah, it's person. It's personne. Person means nobody. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah,
All
weird.
right.
Language is fascinating. All right, let's
Yeah,
jump
I just
in.
wanted to share that with you guys. Much love.
Much love.
Etymology. So, Zombieverse. Here we are. Are people reading along? If so, I'm sure they have the links ready. So, I'm excited. I don't know what this finished product actually looks like. Chapter 1. Game on or game over? CD. Disease. Oh, good lord! I'm so sorry. I'm still getting used to the new software of the books interface. That's the correct word. Okay, give me 10 seconds, everyone.
All right.
Bum, bum, bum. Okay. Disease had ravaged the IRL world for years, forcing people to move their minds and their relationships to the metaverse. Oh, that's lovely. At first, it was strange, but as the Grim Reaper's scythe, my bad, I'm still having a lot of trouble with the interface. It keeps
How about
it's incredibly slow for me.
how about I started off, because it took mine
Go
a
on.
while to load up to where I could flip pages and stuff. So maybe just give it a little time to load up, and I'll kick us off. Okay.
Thank you.
Disease had ravaged the IRL world for years, forcing people to move their minds and relationships to the metaverse. At first, it was strange, but as the Grim Reaper's scythe swung to and fro, the world adapted and changed. The first year, the horrors of the non digital world were more than anyone could bear, and the time of the dead souls arising and humans giddily and costuming themselves to hide their intent passed without notice. The next year, people had become awkward. They had grown uncomfortable among the breathing, living world, but they tried. The celebrants organized meetups and meet-ups to eat, drink, and dance and shake off the awkwardness of having to represent themselves instead of being represented by avatars and profile pics. Electrical storms rolled into every city, not all at once, but at just the right pace to be unnoticed. There was something else afoot as well, something equally dangerous and equally unreal. On that night, friends who had never met were put on a collision course with a world they could never known existed. Emily had always been a big fan of Discord servers, even though she'd gotten hacked once before. Ouch, she thinks. What it what it was like to be surprised by her empty wallet. Today, her wallet had a different sort of surprise, a new item that she hadn't even need to pay for. It was airdropped to her by a Twitter account she followed, which meant she was a winner. She was so excited, she could barely stand it. And what she had won? 3 tickets to the scariest Halloween experience in the entire metaverse. I'm so excited for this, Emily said to herself. Even though her past experiences told her something was odd, she wouldn't miss the best event that would happen on Halloween. But wait a second. Who am I going to give the tickets to? None of my friends like crypto or NFTs, much less an event where they're going to be naked in the metaverse. But she thought it would be a good idea to post on the NFT project's Discord server if there was anyone who had run out of tickets. Hey y'all, I have 2 more tickets if anyone is interested. Hit me up. Of course, she got dozens of scam messages, but 2 of them caught her attention because they had the same servers in common, so she created a group for all 3. Hi, Emily. I'm Charlie. I love the events in the metaverse, and what's more, I love that there will be a wearable hunts. I love adventures. Hey folks, Chris here. I was actually encouraged to attend the event because Halloween parties IRL scare the crap out of me, and I'd rather stay home. Hi, the event is at 3:33 a.m. We should all 3 enter at the same time. I'll see you there. The time seemed a little spooky to them, but so what? It wouldn't be in real life anyways. Charlie was a member of the college water ski team, as all the sports had been moved outdoors to keep the kids further away from each other, and his dorm room, he had the greatest piece of technical hardware he'd ever imagined he'd own, his Otherworld 9000 headset. As he was setting up his cryptocurrency wallet to work with a new device, which his parents had just barely been able to afford at the beginning of the semester, he noticed a new NFT. That's odd, he thought. I don't remember entering a contest. Somehow, he had forgotten that he'd even applied to be Emily's plus one of 2, but the memory returned and lit up his cortex just as yet another bolt of lightning smashed down outside his dorm window. Chris was the oddball of the group. He didn't play any sports, and he'd only ever touched his basic VR kit 2211 a few times before the fateful day. The third invitation to the party came to his wallet, and he didn't even notice. It was there until it activated at 11:59 p.m. He knew he shouldn't stay up this late, but it wasn't a school night, and he had to finish a project for school anyways. Until he met his new friends in World, Chris had seriously been considering simply removing the headset and throwing it onto the floor. He could have gotten some sleep, and who knows, maybe the fucking thing would work the next day. It was 3:33 a.m., and Charlie was almost falling asleep. Well, let's try this, he said, and he clicked login. Suddenly, lightning struck, and Charlie heard the thunder start to rumble. But then, with a brief cry of surprise, he found he couldn't hear it anymore. Everything was dark. I'm in the game, he thought, panicking. You want to take chapter 2?
Oh my god, I just it's just so cool how the little writing I love the little citations where the writers wrote. That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes, love
It's
it.
and you can and I can feel the different styles.
Well, is he there?
And sometimes the different styles are they're they're reflective of how things are said in the right ways. I think it's art. It's so cool.
It really came together quite beautifully. I'm
Right.
excited for the rest.
It's lovely, yeah, and I yeah, well, beautifully read, easy. I was very happy. I think the zoom in, zoom out toggles are just really kind of a bit too extreme, so I might not use them. Um, so I'll start. CD. You know that feeling you get when you think you're going to throw up, but you never do? That was what it felt like, except it went on and on until they had all closed their eyes, and at that moment they were blasted out of the portal like babies being propelled from the room to a nice paddy. It took a few moments for any of them to recover, but the first was Charlie. He'd never seen Emily or Chris before, but there they both were too, in blocky pixels, but he was sure this was what they looked like otherwise, because his own body was so close it had taken him a moment to make the connection between the blockiness and the VR environment. Emily, where are we? What kind of party is this? Charlie asked, clearly angry while Chris was still in shock. I'm just like you.
I just gave you guys the tickets. I didn't know what this was all about. We should look for any sign of life. Come on. Emily said while she was already moving towards the only spot in this world that looked any different from where they had landed. A booming voice stopped her in her tracks and caused Chris to fall onto the ground whimpering. Complete the mission or die. This was the meta host. You will face 3 challenges based on each of your worst fears. If you fall, you will die, but you can know you will suffer forever as a crappy NFT. Go. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Chris was still on the ground. What's wrong with you, man? Charlie demanded. My greatest fear is zombies, Chris said. This created a shocked expression on both Charlie and Emily's faces. Me too, they both said at the same time. Suddenly, a wall of zombies appeared, flowing towards them from what had looked like an abandoned farmhouse seconds before. Run! Emily shouted. She was already past them and on her way. We better go, man. They look fast. I don't know if we can outrun them at this point, Chris said, while he was still on the floor. I'm not going to need to outrun them because I'm sure they'll stop to snack on you, Charlie ran away. It was a totally unexpected asshole move. Zombies don't actually bother me, Charlie mused as he ran. What I'm really scared of are women. Emily loped ahead of him, unaware of what had taken place behind her. Charlie and Emily see the portal in the distance. Ha! How easy, they think. It wasn't long before they hit some kind of glass. What is this? Why can't we get through? Charlie asked as he hit it. Clearly there was something that wouldn't let them pass. This is so strange. Look, there's something being written, Emily read. In the first challenge, you will overcome your greatest fear together. It can only be traversed with all 3 of you. Shit. And I left Chris alone. You did what? We have to go back and help him. Emily was ready to go back when she sees Chris in the distance, walking like a zombie. Now he's going to kill us because of you, Charlie. They were really scared. They kept trying to get through the glass, but it was impossible. Chris was only a few steps away from reaching them. Does someone else want to take over after that? There's like 3 paragraphs left. I'll finish it off if you guys can still hear me.
Yeah.
Please forgive me, Chris. We're not bad. We have to help each other, Charlie said as Emily gave the biggest scream of her life. We'll talk later, Charlie. The zombies came and I had to pretend I'd been bitten and was a zombie. They let me come kill you guys. Quick, run. Charlie and Emily were in shock, but they successfully made it through the glass as the zombies realized it was all a lie and ran to catch them. They blasted out of the portal into a new foreign place while the zombies were stopped by the glass. There, I'm
Man,
done.
this is so fun. It's great because, having been like in the process, so much has evolved for the actual finished story. It's just really cool to see. So if anybody wants to hop on and read with us, please ping me or Jim, and we'll make sure that actually Earth's Carolina's here. I'm sure she could get permissions to anybody that wants to read, but I will start the 3rd chapter. Maria Verde. They abruptly fall into a very peculiar city, clearly not of this era. They arrived in a cyberpunk city many years ahead of its time. Technology overflows everywhere. Dude, what the? Why did you leave me alone with the zombies? Said Chris. Charlie started to answer, but gets distracted by a large man suddenly walking up to greet them. I saw what you did. I saw what you did in that challenge. Very clever. You won't have the same luck here. I'm the governor of this city. My ambition is money and technology. You should know that I'm the only human alive in this city. The others were turned into robots and Bitcoin mining machines. As bizarre as this new encounter was, the 3 didn't question it after their near-death experience just seconds before. They just glanced at each other and then back at the governor. Here is your second challenge, the governor continued with a wicked smile. You will have to get the first Bitcoin ever created. You will have to navigate among the thousands of robots and all the hostile technology in the city. But it won't be as easy. In the same search, there are also the ASIC miners. Good luck. The challenge begins and the 3 of them run off on their quest. The ASIC miners give the first high voltage attack, but the heroes manage to dodge it. This will be impossible, Chris said, scared, as the 3 of them were running. I have an idea. If the governor has most of the money here, then he must have the first Bitcoin. I see the governor's building over there. Let's look in his office, Emily said. Let's run faster. The machines are getting closer and closer. They reached the building and locked the door. Although it was a vain effort because the machines were going to manage to break it down, they reached the elevator when the machines came in, giving high voltage attacks everywhere. Let's take the stairs, said Charlie as they managed to dodge them. Exhaustion almost overcame them when they saw the sign, Governor's Office. And they entered the office. What was in there was crazy. Hundreds of ASIC miners, mountains of money, and among that, a yellow light stood out. It was the first Bitcoin in hologram. They couldn't even react when the machines came into the office ready to do everything for that Bitcoin. We already have it here, but where's the portal? Said Chris. If the mission was to find the Bitcoin and it's in a hologram, then it must be the portal, said Chris, as he ran his hand through it and watched it disappear. The ASIC miners gave the voltage attack, but the three of them quickly jumped into the portal.
Oh man, it's getting adventurous. It's getting
yeah.
it's getting. You guys watched Jungle Run, or was that a British program or an American program? I don't remember.
I don't recall Jungle Run.
It's very much like Crystal Maze sort of stuff, but like for kids. It's like,
Cool. Yeah, this is like, I love how it's just like super fast paced. Boom, boom, boom.
We have Dazarine kicking off chapter 4 for us. Amazing. Okay, chapter 4, the maze. The meta host laughs maniacally, clearly enjoying watching the friends scramble around to survive. They overcame their fears and had even had to hunt down the first Bitcoin, and they were now exhausted and weary. Only adrenaline propelled them on now, and the hope of reaching home alive. So you have made it this far, the host jeered, possibly just by luck, but let us test that theory. Your next challenge is a maze, and you must reach the center. It is surrounded by high hedges with thorns that will dig into your skin. There are also some plants that have grown a taste for the human flesh, but this should not be a worry to you wonder kids. On the other side of the room, they were in a door cracked open slowly. It led out into the darkness where the faint rustle of leaves on the wind could be heard. So just a maze? Charlie asks, thinking this is all too easy compared to the other ordeals they've had to endure. Yes, but there is a keeper of the maze also. You will have to be quicker than him to get to the portal. He laughed again in his sinister way. The group stepped up to the door and looked out into the night. The maze seemed expansive and tall. There was no way to climb it and no way to walk the perimeter. It seemed to stretch on as far as the eye could see. A loud thudding suddenly filled the air, like footsteps, but louder and slower. They turned in unison to see an ogre the size of a bus limbering towards them. The keeper, they squealed as they all ran into the maze. They could hear the footsteps pounding behind them. Just turning the page. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah, love the ogre too.
Loving the drawing. They searched and scrambled for any path, but it was all too confusing and no path or way was evident. They hurried on more to keep a distance from the ogre, who never seemed too far behind. All the hedges looked the same, and a cloudy night meant they could not use stars as navigation. They thought they could use leaves to mark where they had been, but as soon as they approached a hedge to rip one off, a giant mouth appeared from the plant and attempted to swallow them whole. They stuck to the middle of the path from then on. They had been in the maze for what felt like ages when they closed in near the center. They could see the portal light reflecting off the leaves and hear the slow, buzzing hum of the power. But alas, they were on the other side of the hedge and were faced with a dead end. I have an idea, Charlie said, and he put both his hands to his mouth and bellowed loudly. Ogre! Ogre! One of my friends has fallen in some gravy! A distant rumbling could be heard. Footsteps as loud as battle drums came closer and closer. They could also hear the breaking down of the hedges as a hungry ogre smashed through them to find the straightest line to a quick treat. They stood aside just in time to see him crash through one hedge, and he did not even see them as his momentum carried him through the next. Large holes as wide as small cottages were in the hedge growth now. As they heard the ogre continue to break through the rest, they stepped through one and into the portal.
Love it. That gravy line just gets
I
me.
know.
So awesome. Okay, Chapter 5, The Bridge, by Donnie Mo. Courageous as he thought it sounded, in retrospect, it dawned on Charlie that baiting a starving ogre the size of a two-story building was beginning to feel like a bad idea. As they tumbled out of the far side of the portal, for a moment all was dark. It was cold. It was silent. Ha! We made it! We're safe! Jeered Chris. He picked himself up off Emily, who had served as a cushion to his fall, with a sigh of relief. Looks like it, Emily pondered, brushing herself down as she looked at Chris. You're not as light as you look, she said. Chris laughed. I'm a full-time desk jockey. What are you going to do, eh? They both turned in tandem to see Charlie's face drain of blood. Wait, Charlie? Before she could even complete the word, the portal began vibrating. It flashed a bright momentary light. She turned with renewed anxiety to witness the regular-sized portal morph into a giant, fluid blue oval. A hand the size of a palm tree canopy appeared through the plasma suspended in midair. You have to be kidding me, Chris exclaimed. Run! No sooner than the three had stood and motioned back away from the portal, the hand swiped. It was close enough to snag Charlie's hoodie and enough motivation for him to leap backwards, almost knocking Charlie down this time. The room they were in was darkly, large and cavernous. A faint, cool, damp breeze passed across their cheeks. Charlie's trekking instincts kicked in and fueled by renewed adrenaline. Follow that breeze. It's damp, which means there's water nearby. The three launched themselves forward along a narrow path. Their forward sight was reduced. They used their hands to feel away along the wall. This wall became a tunnel. The tunnel was moist to the touch, sparkly as a distant ray of light bounced upon it. The sound of rushing water could be heard. The mouth of the tunnel gave way to a bright light and a bright blue sky. As they emerged, they halted abruptly. There was no more ground. The entrance ended where a sheer cliff face began. In front of them was what appeared to be a cascading waterfall on either side of the path ahead, but there was no path. It was as if the water appeared from midair down into a never-ending distance. They could see a shiny gate on the far side. Holy, there's nothing here. How are we supposed to get across to the other side? Charlie mused. Damned if I know, Emily replied, but we'd best think of something fast. She wheeled around and gestured in the direction they had come from. A gut-wrenching roar emanated from the tunnel's mouth. Seismic footsteps could be heard gathering pace. Time was short. Split up, in different directions, Charlie yelled. Emily paused for a moment. As adventurous as she grew up, nothing had prepared her for battling the undead, much less a house-shaped ogre with breath that could melt a steel buckle. You go left. Chris, you go right. I'll stand here. Press up against the ledge. I have an idea, Charlie added. The crushing footsteps were growing louder and more rapid. Nothing that large should be able to move that fast, thought Charlie. As Emily went one way and Chris the other, Charlie saw two large boulders on either side of the tunnel entrance. He reached behind and drew a climbing rope from his backpack, tying it around one boulder as he fastened a makeshift trip rope and staked it into the ground. He made it twice around the second boulder with the rope. Then an almighty roar, and the ogre with it rampaged from the tunnel. He pulled the rope. Just as the ogre lifted his right leg, it caught the rope. Charlie leaned back hard to maximize the force and tension. The boulder shifted. It was not enough. It held its footing while the ogre did not. It caught the rope with its foot, stumbled forward clumsily, turning in the same motion to see Charlie behind the rock. It had such size and forward momentum that it could not stop in time. It fell, breaking the flow of the water either side of the invisible expanse. Charlie looked down to witness the confusion etched across the beast's face as it slowly turned into a complete fear and panic. The ogre turned as it bounced off what looked like nothing. It wheeled and spun, falling hysterically down into the abyss. Its ear-splitting shriek shrank as quickly as the ogre did. Then nothing. Nothing but the continued rush of falling water and the pulse of the beating pulses in their ears. The trio each drew a large breath, giggling at their success. We did it, Chris yelled. Charlie nodded, bent over while he recovered from the exertion. When the ogre fell, it hit an invisible bridge, Emily pointed out. It reminds me of the bridge of Etheragon during one of our fire missions. It was a bridge of faith, and those that had could pass. Enlightened by this idea, Charlie stepped forward, sliding his foot where the bridge should be. He applied pressure and found resistance. He turned and gave a thumbs up to the others. With renewed vigor, they splashed their way over the abyss, enjoying the refreshing mist of the waters that on their parched lips. When they reached the far side and collapsed under the gate. Oops, sorry guys, just zoomed in on accident. Okay. Could this be the final challenge? Emily asked. I don't think I can take much more of this. We can take on anything if we put our minds to it, Chris replied in a tone of confidence that was stark contrast to the constant terror behind his eyes. Charlie stood up. Well, there's no time like the present to find out. They were happy to have made it when Chris started acting strange. His skin turned green and his walk was different. What in the... Emily looked at him startled. I knew this would happen. In the first challenge, I did get bitten by a zombie. I didn't want to tell you guys so you wouldn't freak out, but I guess I'm already turning into one. What are we going to do now? Charlie was upset. Please go ahead. I'll be right behind you in case I get the urge to eat you. You have, like, a chance to run. Now. Chris was already talking like a zombie. With a nudge, Charlie twisted the lock, and the gate squealed open to reveal the final challenge, the Crucible. He pushed the gate open, and Emily stepped through, and then closed it behind them while Chris watched their new friend walk away. Okay, hopefully everybody still is hearing me. I'm going to continue as we hopefully have enough time to get through it. And if Jimmy's audio is working, he can always jump in on a chapter. Okay, this one is by Jim Hapax himself. Emily and Charlie heard moans behind them, a ways as they paced through the cavern to reach the surprisingly bright portal at the other end. They stepped through the portal, and wind up at the front gate of a giant cave, the zombies' dragon's lair. Zombie Chris is not far behind, following them with a stupor. Never strong to begin with, not sure whether he wants catharsis and overcoming, or to feast upon the brains of them. Emily and Charlie may need to fend him off. Sorry. Had to clear my throat there. I have just a little bit of cold. Okay. Or to feast upon the brains of them. Emily and Charlie may need to fend him off, the hunger. Perhaps squirrel brains, or anything dead or rotten scraps laying around. He doesn't seem hungry, Emily said. The pair of eyes in his head still looked like Chris, and though he doesn't appear to be aggressive towards Charlie and Emily, another virtual avatar walking by is not so lucky. Chris quickly devours the hapless gamer's brains, and Charlie subdues the new zombie because it would not be as friendly as Chris. They sweat and glisten as they delve deeper into the cave. Gold, rubies, and animated sapphires pile up as plentiful as the skeletons of those who dared pass this way before. A winding path snakes through the piles of abandoned treasure come graveyard. At the end, there is an opening, and an enormous, somber being sleeps. Hello? Charlie utters, and the beast is disturbed from his dormancy. Who dares interrupt my slumber? The dragon's eyes pierce a glowing light, one near impossible to flee the gaze of. It occurs to the two that they are yet still lucid, that the dragon's mouth has not moved. He speaks with his mind. Your endurance to bring you here is not without valor. I am impressed, however few that have ever come to the Crucible. What's the Crucible? Zombies, dragons, vampires, these folk tales have shaken many, but the fears of these times have disturbed so many today that through distraction and avoidance, they never need to face that which really scares them most. And what's that? We've slayed an ogre with a boulder, we've overcome hordes of zombies, all these accomplishments, and you think we haven't faced our fears? There is a silence. And then, shaking the walls of the cave, the mighty dragon erupts in laughter. You think these are fears? Charlie and Emily look at each other in the eyes one last time before turning back to the dragons. Look into these eyes. You will find your true fears. Jim, if you do want to jump in, it
I
sound
know
like you have audio.
my Discord was breaking a bit. I love your dragon voice. I love that so much. It's great
Okay,
stuff.
I'll finish this one off, and you can take the next one.
Okay, yeah, and that'll be the last one. Sounds perfectly
Okay,
good to
cool.
me.
Okay, let's see. Charlie is too dazed to see Emily dissolve next to him. Chris has already been taken up by the hypnotic gaze. Everything melts and there is darkness. Maria Verde. It was just an ordinary day at school. Everyone is talking to friends, playing games, boys flirting with girls. For Charlie, it was the most important day of his life. The day before, he had decided, after several years of not even talking to girls, that he was going to declare his love for Natalie, his classmate who stole all his attention. Natalie was talking to her friends when Charlie walks up, sweating and shaking. Hello, hi Natalie. I was wondering if you'd like to hang out with me today? There wasn't even a word, not even a yes or no. There was only laughter, and lots of it. Instead of running away as he did years before, he understood that Natalie wasn't the only girl in the world. At least, he dared to talk to her. Jim. Emily is stuck on the dragon's gaze and falls unconscious on the floor beside Charlie. Emily's stepdad is banging on her door, but she is stronger now. I hate you. You don't have control over me. I wish you were dead. She stands up to the memory of her abusive father, and now she's free. They approach the scenes of their dark memories differently because they have become stronger people. They come back to reality and see Chris fighting with himself. The teacher mocks him in the school, piercing sounds of laughter in the rest of his classmates. Can't you do a simple math equation? Do I have to bring you to the front so you can explain how stupid you are to everyone else? Chris is shaking. He doesn't know Emily and Charlie in front of him, telling him to confront his fears. Or you will maybe piss your pants? Chris shakes, and the shaking turns from fear to apprehension to frustration to fury. Chris flips the table. The teacher and the class recoil. There is silence. Emily and Chris look at each other. Something has changed in Charlie's eyes. He's going to make it, she says. And who do you think you are? The teacher goes from malice to shock. You come in here, you hand out your textbooks, you pick on the quietest kids in the class, and you make them feel terrible. No one likes you, Mrs. Frumpsworth. No one ever did. I'm sorry you have to do this to the kids you're supposed to inspire. I'm sorry you never got over the worries and problems in your life. I'm sorry you have so little power in your life that you can only make children miserable. The teacher sits down and is silent. The children applaud Chris on. Of course, Chris would not say this as a 6-year-old, but Chris is not 6. The memory is the same, but Chris has changed, and everything goes dark, and the two faces appear, Emily and Charlie.
Jeez. It's weird seeing it in totality now, you know.
Totally.
It's total, yeah. It is. Sorry, I love spotting a good pun when I see one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and I loved. Sorry, I love Maria Verde's. But it's sort of the way. Oh God, yeah. Okay, and then chapter 5. Here we are, the last page. Okay, and it's done by Maria. Chapter 5. You can Chapter 5. You can return home now. By Maria Verde. They all made it through the last mission. We did it, they said, as they hugged each other. A lot of bravery was needed to make it to the end, but something inside them was not 100% happy about returning to the real world. And why would they want to return to the real world? After all, so many diseases, rivalries, and hate in the real world made no sense. Maybe it was better to stay in the Zombieverse. Here is the magic candy that will bring you back to the real world. You can eat it and never return here. Or you can choose to become zombies and wait every Halloween to scare and make other Discord users join the Zombieverse, the dragon said. The three of them take it, but stare at it for quite a while. The dragon smiles because he knows what they are thinking. No, we're staying in the Zombieverse, they say in unison. At the same time, Charlie and Emily begin to change into what will now be their new look. They are now zombies. The three of them walk together into their now new home. Another player approaches, and they all grin at each other. The player enters the room, and the three friends attack. And that's how the three new, and that's how the three new now friends met. Perhaps in an unconventional way. But the experience was not only fear and terror, it was also a space to grow, to overcome their fears, to be who they really wanted to be. Because at the end of the day, if there were so many bad things in the real world, why not do the same, but in the Zombieverse? It's kind of a scary ending, actually. It's like that kind
I
of.
freaking love it, my lord. Yes, because I remember, like, we talked about different endings, like, does Emily go back and find them dead, or are they alive, or is Charlie alive and Chris had been dead because he was the first bit, and, like, we did all these things, and then Dylan just comes in and fucking whacks it all and gives us
Yeah.
this amazing non-happy happy ending. They don't go back to the world, they don't wake up and everything's nice, they decide on their own to stay and become freaking zombie monsters. I love it.
It's amazing. I just think like I love seeing the little credits as well, and the fact that the
Yes.
fact that no one told anyone to do anything.
No, there
It,
was no like you do this and you do that. I mean, it
it grew.
came. I mean, it came together very naturally. Of course, there has to be like, okay, like this is the part you wrote. You're gonna like, finish that up, whatever, spice it up from like the very original ideas, and then having the amazing artwork. Shout out Maria Verde, I love it. It just all really worked. I mean, it's incredible. This is what we all did together. Very happy about that.
So now do we go back to the real world now we've written this book, or do we stay in the metaverse as author zombies?
I think we stay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty incredible too because that ending gives this kind of reflection
Oh, I
to
lost you again.
real life.
Okay.
Ah, damn. Anyways, it seems to kind of echo a little our real lives, how we do have this world that was thrown into chaos with, the pandemic and all this. And so a lot of us, because of the lockdowns, that was the opportunity that gave us a lot more time to get deeper into this metaverse Web3 world. And so it's just a very interesting correlation there too. And the fact that a lot of us, myself definitely, spend as much time or more in the metaverse than the real world. I mean, once you go full-time crypto, it's like there's no turning back. I think we'll have Jim back in a minute here. But, surprisingly, we got the whole thing read. We got about 10 minutes left before end of show. Yes, BB, full-time crypto is dope. Oh man, I bet your ENS game was so strong. That must have been freaking nice little mana from heaven drop. I did get a little of that ENS drop too. I'm pretty stoked. Although if I had only set my main as my main, I would have got it at 2x, doubled up. Yeah, but you never know. I mean, it is really, I just would advise, like, if you are in this crypto Web3 world, use the exchanges and the, different platforms, of course, the ones that you find trusted and you like, but you never know when like OpenSea or MetaMask or somebody else drops a coin. And if you've been active on those platforms, you would be probably eligible for a drop. That sometimes these drops are definitely life-changing. So pretty cool. All right, we
Yeah,
got
you
winners.
guys did a great job with that reading, man. I just wanted to break in for a second and congratulate y'all on that. But also, yeah, that ENS drop was really, really, really nice. Oh my god, I'm talking to a writer right now who wants to come in, and I guess she's from Venezuela, and she's really interested in crypto and all these different projects. And man, there's just so much
Great.
growth going on in the space right now. Yeah, just straight up gratitude, y'all. This is epic. Fucking great.
That was really fun. That was like super fun reading through. I just feel like super proud, not even having necessarily contributed like the written chapter I did that got lost. You guys smashed that opening really nicely. But just being like sort of whatever, the one of the hosts of the show, it feels like our little fledgling idea of Pass the Pen has now grown up and it's real. It's like solid, it's right there, it's in my wallet. Nothing cooler than that. So I'm very excited about the next ones we'll be kicking off. I'm also super excited about Space Pirate, Psychedelic Booty, and yeah. And also, I definitely wanted to say, winners, get your chicken dinners at Carmen CE, at Maita, and at Patrashu. Make sure that you do reach out to It's Carolina Duh, because y'all won Zombieverses, which is very cool. And I definitely want to wish a super happy birthday, many happy returns on this day to Carolina. Duh.
Hey,
Gonna
can
be
we
a good
sing to her?
birthday. Oh, we
I'm in a
can.
coffee shop right now, and it would be so funny if I sang "Happy Birthday" into my phone right
Let's
now.
do it. Me, 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 me. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday to
to you.
you. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
It's
It's
Carolina
Carolina
Duh.
Dottie.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
Poap
And many
Queen.
more, the Poep Queen. Awesome. Love it. Love it. We gotta, get some extra smiles to our fam on their birthdays. So much
Oh yeah.
love. So much
Get that dirty
incredible
with style.
so much incredible work that is Carolina does behind the scenes, not only for POAPs and many different communities and groups, just pillar of our community right there. So much love to Carolina.
She's a rock. She's a rock. She is
Yes, absolute rock.
a birthday
She's a
rock.
fucking rock star.
A rock star. I said.
Hells yeah. Let's see. BB Studios joined the fam today, picked up an Avastar. Nice. About time.
Amazing.
Man,
Well,
I
I'm
haven't
just so
checked in
happy
on
with.
those for a while.
I'm just so happy with how it ended up, like in such a small amount of time, and it also shows that sort of thing is very possible.
Yes.
Which is, it's like only a year ago people didn't believe that work from home was particularly possible, and it's just I think that kickstarted a wait. If the establishment doesn't think things that are possible are possible, then what else is there? And I think that was a little bit of a kickstarter for things like this changing the whole face of everything.
Totally. It does. It like drives home that point that, almost anything's possible. You put together some crazy creative people in a Discord chat, and under a month later, you've got this incredible little Zombieverse story on the blockchain. So yeah, I just,
It was it was very similar to when I learned about about Polygon having their own Discord, etc., etc. And I was like going, I'd go to them, and it's the same thing as I was like, this is what it is, this is how people are going to change the world, to be a little bit dramatic, with
totally.
with cat gifs and pizza gifs and memes and emojis and the whole it's a
Ooh.
madness.
Spooky POAP. So there's a little bit of an update for POAPs, which is actually really cool. So everybody that's basically, in that voice chat active will have a message from the DGen bot. And the DGen, oh, I forgot to pick up my Jax one last night. The DGen bot will send you a DM basically. So don't block it. It's not spam. It's real. And then you just click on that link that's in the DGen bot and put in your either ENS or your full address, and that will, you hit the mint button, and that mints it up and drops it into your wallet. So I'm getting my super dope Zombieverse past the pen for today's Whippy past the pen. And I'm just
Holy
snagging
cow,
it
that's
right
such a better
now.
system. That is so good.
Yeah, it's really cool because there are so many, like if you're just dropping links and whatnot, it's so many people get them that weren't actually there, and I don't know how people are like that up on knowing exactly where to go and snag the POAPs from and stuff. But this does seem like a really nice like upgrade to the standard system.
Yeah. Guys, if you don't mind, I may actually have a quick announcement to make.
Yeah.
Because I believe we are here in a TokenSmart server and easy. Did you already tell everybody that we are planning to hit the whip?
Oh, no, we actually got to fill in last week at the whip. I have to double check. Let's see what we had. A couple of date options. I probably need to go check in what was preferable there. But yes, we have an option for, I believe it was this coming week or in the
I
after
think we should hit.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we should hit that one because we're launching the book on Black Friday, and we want to share everybody like sort of the alpha before the drop if we can. You know.
Cool. Let me
But
go, and I'm going to right now hop into the Whip crew and let them know that we will take this week if it's still open.
cool. Well, so there's that, and then there's also going to be live readings of The Mask of Ganymede, which is the book that we're working on with the Mask DAO. And basically, those are going to happen in Twitter Spaces. So be sure you're following the Whip Publishing and Page DAO Twitter accounts so that you can, kind of cop those as they come. But I believe we are planning to do one of those on next Thursday at noon again, just like we did last week. So
Awesome.
everybody come out and yes, scope the new book before anybody else gets a chance, huh?
Yep. Cool. I just let the Whip kind of scheduling crew and whatnot know that we will take the spot this coming week. So as soon as I get confirmation, which should be soon, we will be locked in there. So yeah, make sure that you come. The Mask of Ganymede reading, the first one was amazing. Definitely make sure that you are following on Twitter. And let's see, we probably have our Twitter links right over in the event links. And if not, we'll drop them in. There it is. So in fact, I think, let's see, we're doing those under Page DAO, I believe. So I'm going to drop that for everybody right in this chat. So nice and clickable. Here you go. Make sure you're following us over on the Page DAO. And yeah, those readings are really fun. We do a couple of Twitter Spaces usually a week, and yeah, join us. Come hang out. We even get POAPs for those Twitter Spaces often, which are really fun. And yeah, these collaborative works are so exciting. And so again, if anybody out there, you have a community, a project that you think would have fun and benefit from coming over and doing some kind of pass the pen type of event or other literary style engagements, let us know. Bring them over. And with that, we've just hit 11:30 on the nose. What a great show. Excited to see what next week brings. And we will keep posted on the new kind of combined schedule. Hopefully by next week, we will know either if we're doing Wednesday or Friday, and we'll have a little bigger chunk of time so we can go over kind of, the grand with publishing news and updates, and then boom, slide into Pass the Pen creative time.
Amazing. I've got to go now as well. I've got to find a Brazilian accordion player about open mic night. So
that sounds very cool.
That sounds extraordinarily interesting. All right.